Hello, good afternoon. Very nice to be here and to be able to talk to you about one of my favorite topics, which is free private cities. So my name is Ekhard Seeßelberg. Can you hear me all right? Okay. So I'm an ambassador for the Free Cities Foundation, but I'm also working as CTO for T-Polis, which is a company who actually wants to build free private cities. We don't have one yet, but we are working on it very focusedly, if that's English. Okay, so what does the Free Cities Foundation do? The foundation promotes and supports any project that is working towards more individual freedom as a whole. Yeah? We framed it like this. Individual freedoms and rights, that's very important. So this includes a broad spectrum of activities actually, or projects. If you go from the left to the right, we ordered it by the level of autonomy that you actually have. And on the left-hand side, you find what we call intentional communities, some of which have presented here. Friesen is a very good example, but there are lots and lots of others who do this. And these are characterized by people who have a common goal, a common worldview, a common ideology even, yeah, and just want to live with like-minded people, which is a very good idea. But typically they don't have any kind of autonomy for themselves, except because they still are subject to the laws of the place whichever place it is they live in. On the next step up would then be something like special economic zones, and a very famous example is Shenzhen, the city in China, which has special laws for special economic zones are characterized by a special rule set for specific, typically industries. For instance, I don't know, how to make the t-shirt industry more productive. And then we have, if you take this concept of special economic zone the next step further, then you say, okay, why not have more autonomies in more typical industries? And that leads us, and then even to residential, other rules for residential purposes. And that leads us to the special administrative regions. And we find a few of those in the world. They are historically, some of them are historic. For instance, the Isle of Sark is a very, very interesting example, a very special situation. But then we have also special administrative regions, and these are the free private cities, which are characterized by a very high degree of autonomy. And we have a few examples of those, luckily, in the world. Dubai is one of it. You wouldn't necessarily think of it, but we also have in Honduras the examples of Prospera, or Honduras is a country which allows these zones to exist. Who has heard of Prospera and Zedis? Yeah, quite a lot of people. Yeah. And then at the extreme end of the spectrum, we have full sovereignty, which is something that Liberland, for instance, aims for. Yeah? This would be the ultimate goal. So, and I want to focus on free private cities on this spectrum of activities. So what is the defining characteristic? To me it is the fact that you are, as a resident, you sign a contract with a private entity. Yeah? And this contract stipulates clearly what you as a resident are allowed to do and not allowed to do, but it also clearly stipulates what the governing entity, this private company, is allowed to do and which services it's supposed to provide. Yeah? And this is a very boring but fundamental aspect of it, because this makes it so that neither party to the contract can easily change the terms of the contracts. Both have to agree if one of the parties wanted to do something differently. Yeah? If we call it the private operator of the city, if he wants to implement new dare I say, taxes, for instance, or increase the fees or whatever it is, they have to do so. They have to do so with the consent of everybody else, because these are individual contracts and not a social contract. This is really a piece of paper that you sign with your signature, and this is essential. Yeah, and the other thing is, as I mentioned, it's a very high degree of autonomy that these free private cities aim for. Yeah? There are always some compromises to be made, but the general goal is for free private cities to be fully autonomous, and this means their own law system, their own security force, their own rules and regulations for businesses. Yeah? So, the way I like to see this free-private city model is because free private cities can be everything. They can everything. There can be lots of different varieties of these free private cities. Yeah, there could be, for instance, a group of religious people. They could say, look, we want to live according to our religion, and we don't want to live with anybody else. We create our own city and then live according to our own rules, which is perfectly fine to me. Yeah? But there could also be cities where you say, look, your worldview doesn't matter. We are completely agnostic to it. We just define the rules. And if you live by the rules, then everything is fine. You're welcome here. And that's the way I see these free-private cities as a platform where people can shape their own lives according to their preferences. Yeah? And in one free private cities, there can be a multitude of communities that emerge and a multitude of ways to live. And as long as everybody obeys the subset of very simple rules, then everybody will live fine and peacefully together. So, and the other aspect is, if this platform, which is mainly defined by the citizen contract, the laws that are there, well, I think that's already it. This is it makes it so that it leaves the politics out of everyday's life. The platform is what it is. It has its rules and conditions, and you can build your life on top of it. Yeah? But if, for instance, a group of people wants to say, "Hey, look, our city is nice, but it lacks a theater or a museum or whatever it is," yeah? Then they cannot go to the city operator and say, "Hey, we want to have a theater. It's very important, and many people will like it." And we would say, "Sorry, it's not part of our contract. We can't do anything, but feel free to organize it yourselves. It's very easy here. Collect some money, find like-minded people, and then build your theater. We are all for it. But we cannot favor one group over the other. Or we cannot do anything special for any group." Yeah? And that leaves the politics out of the area of living together. And that's, I think, to me, that's the most powerful aspect of this. So let's look at some examples. So as I mentioned, Dubai. Dubai is probably not the project that comes to mind when we talk about free private cities, because it's already pretty established and old, not really, but very successful. But why I want to mention this is because this is an example where a very different rule set, and in this case, a common law system is working well within a country that has a completely different law system otherwise. Yeah? So this is a tiny enclave of a very different rule set, and it's very successful, and everybody accepts it, and it doesn't lead to bad blood anywhere. So this is a good example of the principle that you can have a different rule set in a limited territory. So the other example that probably many people here already know, Prospera. I like this, of course, obviously very much. Also, so they have this concept of free private city to a very large degree. So they have the citizen contract. They have a very limited or very affordable resident fee. I think it's currently, I don't know, $150 or so per year. So it's very affordable. They have been quite successful, so that they were able to buy the adjacent property to the initial plot of land that they had, with investor money, which is a very bold move, and they also have quite a success because a lot of very innovative entrepreneurs started businesses there, including some of them also concerned with longevity and life extension. Is that the word? So this is one example, Minicircle, who are building gene therapies for chronic diseases, but this is just one example of many. But in Prospera, not only doing that, they also built the Stuna residency, which are now sold out. And these are not the current pictures. The Duna residency is now finished. They wanted to build some more, but unfortunately, in Honduras, the state decided to repeal the ZEDE laws, and the whole project is now in a very difficult situation. Recently, I think it was this month, the Supreme Court of Honduras even declared the whole ZEDE law, so the law that makes these autonomous zones possible, so they declared it invalid retroactively. So now the whole situation is it's a legal limbo. Nobody knows how to move forward from this. It's very, very weird and puts Prospera in a very difficult situation, unfortunately. Just one other point, you see these houses, and this is one example also of the innovation force to me, because you can build all kinds of stuff, and in regular jurisdictions, like in Germany, to build something like this would be just simply impossible. Yeah. But free private cities are or can be a place where this kind of innovation takes place, and where there's a lot of where you just try out to do something. So. There's another ZEDE in Honduras, or there's some more, but this is actually this is my favorite project in all of the free city space. I admit, because this is in mainland Honduras, somewhere close to a town which name I have forgot. The goal is here for ZEDEs, for Morazan is a little bit different. The goal is to provide affordable housing and a safe living space for normal workers. But not only the workers, they also want to attract businesses, manufacturing, to provide jobs to those workers. Yeah? So it's a mix of those two. This is important because in Honduras, living is pretty unsafe. Yeah? I heard that in this town, I think it's called Choloma. Anyhow, people don't go out at night because they fear of getting robbed and mugged and attacked. Yeah? So as soon as the sun sets, you just stay at home. So these are very bad living conditions. And in Morazan, this is completely different. We have a picture for this a little bit later. People just go out, children play on the streets, in the parks. There's a little bit of community going on. They have lots of festivities. Yeah, that's a real community that is forming, and that's something that is very attractive to the people of Honduras. So that currently it's entirely sold out, and they have a long waiting list of people who want to join this. Yeah, but unfortunately, again, for the legal situation, the same as what applies to Prospera, it applies to Morazan as well. So it's a very difficult situation. So they stopped all investments for now, which is very unfortunate. So here you have some more pictures. You see what I just mentioned earlier. There's a community, I have a lot of barbecue pictures, but so barbecue seems to be a thing. That's good. So this is a picture. This is one of those housing units. They rent them for $120 per month, which for Honduras is okay. It's not super cheap probably, but it's okay. But given that it's a safe space, it's quite nice. There's a community, and you can go out at night. As we see in the next picture, it's very attractive. So I like this picture because it shows also a little bit what kind of things emerge when you have a free organization of living together. You see maybe this little kiosk over here, yeah? And this is just someone who put a vending machine in front of their door. Yeah? They don't have to ask for a permit or whatever it is. They just do it and make a little bit of money by selling things to their fellow neighbors. And this is what it looks like at night. So clean, nice, and yeah, very good. Zack, some more impressions. Barbecue again. I have 10 more barbecue photos. No, no, that's already what I wanted to say. And I wanted to make you aware of, if you're interested in this topic, then we have a conference in Prague, which is happening next week from the 1st to the 3rd November. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I like this conference very much because sorry, it's really good because this conference is focused about how can we make liberty actually a reality in our lifetime. So there are lots of people who not only talk about liberty, but they also do it. Yeah, and this is very important. Yeah, and you will, if you come there, you will see there's a whole spectrum, and there are so many different approaches to how can we achieve more liberty for individuals, and it's just amazing to see the energy and the amount of people. So there will be roughly 300 attendees, a little bit more maybe, and I think there are more than 20 projects who will be present from all over the world. So it's an amazing conference. So I invite you to join us. Last slide. I mean, that's the whole point of it. We are not revolutionaries. Yeah? What we want to do is just provide an alternative to people who want who have different preferences. Yeah, I think Vit said it before. There's only a small percentage of people are interested in freedom. I agree with that, but why shouldn't those people that are interested in and want to live a more free life be able to do so? Everything is voluntary. I don't see why this shouldn't come to fruition. So we want to build alternatives for people who like more freedom. Thank you. How much do we have time for questions?
We have good time for some questions. So raise hands if you have a question, and we'll proceed.
Oh.
Wondering, can you a little bit elaborate on that arbitrage now that might be taking place between Honduras and the ZD zones? Because well, there are some details. I know it's mostly under NDA or something, but they can take them to Washington for the $10 billion. Do you know any specifics now? If something is
I don't
moving
know.
forward?
I can give an outline of what's happening in the legal situation. So, when the Honduran government repealed the ZEDI laws, this was against the contract that Prospera, the company, had with the Honduran government. Yeah? So Prospera, the company, went to an international arbitration court and said, look, Honduras and us, we had a contract, and we think they broke the rules, and we want to have damages for the damage they put on us. Because the claim being, since the ZD law was repealed, this impacted the businesses of Prospera, the company, negatively. Yeah? And the Prospera, in their claim, said that they estimate the damages to $11 billion, yeah? Which is an enormous amount of money. But if you think that if you project the business of Prospera, the company, 50 years in the future, you can easily see how these enormous amounts of money can pile up. There was a lot of back and forth. I think this claim is not yet settled. It's an ongoing process, and I think the Honduran government even tried to pull out of this arbitration body, but I'm not sure if they actually did it. Yeah? So there's this process going on between Prospera, the company, and the Honduran government with regards to the damages, and that's about all I know.
Yes, Sasha, let me give you a microphone.
Yeah, it was for the Ciudad Morazan project, so it looks really, really cool. And but I wonder about the business model and how, do we see an increase in productivity and in performance compared to surrounding factories, for example? But also, is it where did the idea come from? Where did the capital come from? Is it a private business owner who came and decided to create housing for factory workers?
Yeah.
So, is it also moral to do it in a way if the capital is coming from outside, and is it really benefiting the country, or how did it work?
So that's a lot of questions. So how was it founded? It is founded by an entrepreneur who had businesses in Honduras and South America in general, a very successful one, and he took his private money to build Ciudad Morazan. Yeah? So the business model is very simple. They have so all the housings that you see in the parks and the streets and everything is built by the city operator, and they rent out the housing units to the rate of $80 to $120 per month. Yeah? And this covers all of the, plus they have, I think they have an income tax of 5%. Yeah? And so this covers the ongoing cost of operating the city. Is it immoral? I don't think so.
Yeah, you said it was a Latin American businessman who.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And I think there was another question with regards to, does the Honduran state somehow benefit? Yeah. So I'm not super sure about it, but I believe that there are mechanisms that there's also a financial reward that goes from all of these cities to the state of Honduras, yeah, to create a win-win situation. But I'm not super sure about the details.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
I will have a question. So you've talked about free cities, and let's say that it's an individual contractual agreement. So if the city wants to, have a new tax, right? The citizen must sign the new tax, right? So so what happens when you want to increase taxes or decrease them, and someone decides to sign, not sign, right, as a citizen. So what would happen next if we talk about taxes?
Okay, I can. There are a multitude of different models that are possible, but what you could do is you put in the citizens' contract you put in the conditions under which such increases could occur. The most simple one is inflation, for instance. Yeah, in a contract we cannot state, okay, you pay $1,000 and in 10 years' time $1,000 just buys you a chewing gum. That doesn't work.
We should pay in Bitcoin at the start, right?
Yeah, maybe the same. So we have to prepare for inflation. Yeah? Then if something really unforeseen happens, something that is not covered by the contract in a way. Yeah?
Like during COVID, all the football players, they kind of, there was never a clause that, if COVID happens and you don't play, the football clubs should still pay them the money. So a lot of football clubs went down.
So what you can do, for instance, also say in a contract, look, if something really unforeseen happens, for instance, I don't know, a global, some kind of natural disaster or another pandemic or outbreak of some disease or whatever it may be, then the city operator can implement a certain number of measures, but these are still subject to judicial control. That is, if the resident or if a resident thinks that these measures are not warranted and are over, how do you say this, are just too much, are not right, then he can go to an international arbitration court and say, look, the operator misused the contract.
So let's say you want to increase taxes to have a better police or something like this, right?
For cases like this, that's how could you do this?
I mean, what happens, let's say you want to increase the taxes for police, right? And then, someone says, nah, I don't need it, or nah, I don't need this new vehicle you want to buy to help guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, you better make sure that you that the fees cover these costs.
Yeah, because it seems it's kind of like...
It's a difficult question. I mean, the only way out I can see is then you have to have propose a change to the contract, and each individual has really to accept it.
Yeah, because maybe I'm kind of pointing to the words that you kind of have to go maybe all in with the maybe libertarian or anarcho-capitalist system for it to be clean and nice, right? Where you don't have like simple problems like this, right? So maybe it's harder to do it in a mixed way where you're like, well, it's an individual clause, but we still provide police and things like this, because then someone is like, well, I paid the lowest amount and then I won't pay, but you still have to do something when the police arises or shit like this.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand the question. Sorry.
No, that was more of a
was a remark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's do a round of applause. Yes, perfect.
Please pardon my ignorance, but I'm not seeing how free cities are making the residents more free. Because for each resident, he or she have to comply with the national laws, because this person is a citizen of some state. He or she also have to comply with the laws of the host state, like Honduras, Portugal, or whatever. And on top of that, you have some regulations related specifically to this free city. So it's like more regulation, but how is it more freedom in that?
No, it's not. It's not more regulation. It's so you have the host. Take Dubai, yeah. So you have the laws of the nation around it, yeah? And then you have Dubai as the financial center. And in Dubai you have a completely different rule set, and it's based on common law, yeah? And this is the basic idea. We don't have the exact same rule set as the host nation in a free private city. We have a different one, yeah? Of course, for instance, oftentimes host nations who consider the idea of allowing free private cities, they say, okay, for criminal law, you have to accept the same rules. Yeah? So if someone murders someone else, then the same rules have to apply. But you don't have the same rules with regards to, let's say, even with regards to how do you do your business, what kind of taxes you pay, and so on. These are completely different. Yeah? So I would say it's less rules.
Okay, but these special regulations, they depend solely on the goodwill of the country that imposes it.
Yes.
And it's nothing new. For example, like in the Crusaders, were in the medieval, they were governed by the papal state and can be judged only by some person from the Holy See, and not by the countries they were crusading in, and including European states. So it's the idea of this special regulation. It's not coming from the city, it's coming from the government.
Indirectly, I mean, of course, the government has to agree, and that's the difficult part of it. The government has to agree to give this private entity this amount of autonomy with regards to regulation. And it can be, in practice, it will be a gray area. It's not black and white, yeah, either everything or nothing. Yeah, there will be places where a free private city has a certain degree of autonomy but cannot do anything about taxes, let's say. Yeah. So it's a spectrum and not all or nothing proposition. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's do a round of applause for Ekhard.
Thank you.